It's one of the most creative and transformative periods in overall its history. A new nation and like a new culture basically emerged, and I see this as it was like one that was very defined by like its reform movements, moral passion, and like the idea that individuals could perfect themselves as well as society. And I think this energy came largely from the Second Great Awakening, which was a religious revival that inspired people to act on their faith. For example, one of the sources was um, written by Ronald Walters, where he explained in the first stage of reform, quote, religion gave Attilum reform its moral urgency, pushing ordinary Americans away to join the movement that promised to basically build a more virtuous nation. The Second Great Awakening encouraged people to see moral improvements as a personal duty. This belief fueled movements like the Temperance Crusade, which warned against the dangers of alcohol. For example, in the Mirror of the Intemperate in 1830, reforms used vivid imagery. For example, quote, a many-head Hydra monster represented alcohol, um, end quote, to portray drinking as a moral and social evil. And Temperance revealed how religious revival emerged with reforms, ultimately showing that saving souls also meant saving communities. At the same time, there was also economic change that basically was able to reshape culture. For example, in Women and Early Industrial Revolution, um, we have Thomas Dublin describing how the textile mills of Lowell, Massachusetts gave young women, quote, a measure of economic and social independence not possible while living under the pale roof. And these mill girls, not only and like enter the workforce, but also learn to organize and speak publicly, which were basically more signs of a more modern and like practical culture. Religious and also modern ideas also connected to abolitionism. For example, Ronald Walter. ¡No te asustado! Then we have more religious and moral ideas. In the type that these reforms energy carried into the Seneca Fall Convention of 1848. And Judith Wellum, she explained how the Declaratory of Sentiments declared, quote, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, end quote. And the language of equality really came straight from American founding ideas, but was also now infused with types of evangelic passion and moral convention and religious and republicanism united together to push for social change. And we have Lydia Maria Child, who added a personal philosophical dimension to this new culture in her 1843 letters from New York. She wrote that there was this greater connection, and I have a quote here that says, the present position of women in society is the result of physical force, and imagined when, quote, men will become more gentle and women more free, end quote. And I think her vision of moral equality between men and women really captured the growing belief and the fact that society could and should be remade through reason and virtue. And I think together they really show how the United States identity was slowly forming with these movements, and what it meant to be an American citizen, and what rights came with it, which was very, very important for that time. And yeah.